If you want to make money online selling digital products, you've got to stand out from the crowd. How do you do that? Well, the key is to have pro-level graphic designs. Now, you may be thinking, I'm not a professional graphic designer. How do I give my designs that kind of pro-level quality? I've got good news for you, friend. You don't have to be a professional or even formally trained in graphic design to be able to do this. You can do this even as a beginner, as long as you know the few crucial design principles that make these kinds of digital products sell. So today, I'm peeling back the curtain and revealing what I consider to be the two most important graphic design techniques to get your products flying off the shelves. Now, before we jump into these two strategies, I want to let you know I have a free digital product starter guide that's going to be super helpful for you if you're just starting your digital products business and you're still gathering the need to know information about things like sizing, aspect ratios, resolution, software and tools you can use to create your digital products, what types of different digital products are out there. Everything you need to know to get started is included in this free guide, so I have that linked in the video description below. Definitely click through on that to grab your guide after watching this video to make sure you get started off on the right foot. All right, let's jump into graphic design technique number 1, and this is alignment and layout. The way your graphic design is laid out, from text to images to graphics to icons, whatever elements you're using, you're choosing where those are being placed, how they're being spaced out inside your design, and the layout and the alignment of those different elements and text can either really make or break your product. Having a good layout and proper alignment does several things. It organizes and groups elements to create visual order and organization, it anchors objects within your design, and it creates an easy to follow order so your viewer can visually work their way from one element to the next in a way that's appealing and pleasant and makes sense to their brain. Viewers may not consciously think about the layout of a design, but they can definitely tell when something's a little bit off. There are different ways you can lay out the different elements in your design to give it different feels. So maybe you want a design that feels modern and sleek and trendy. You're going to use certain spacing and alignment to achieve that. Or maybe you want the feel of your design to be more elegant and classy. That's a whole different layout that uses different types of alignment and spacing. Maybe you have a design that you want to feel super fun and retro. Again, a whole different layout with different alignment and spacing. So there are different types of alignment. You could align all of your text and elements in your project to left, which is called left alignment. You could align them to the center, or you could align them to the right side. There's also two different types of distribution. We've got horizontal distribution, which is where all of your elements are evenly spaced horizontally. And we've got vertical distribution, which is where they're aligned and spaced out evenly vertically. When we're talking about layouts, we also need to make sure we're making good use of negative space, which is sometimes also called white space, but it's just the open space around your text and elements that you're using in your design that lets it breathe a little bit so it doesn't feel so cluttered. A really smart use of appropriate negative space, again, helps create order within your design and a little bit of hierarchy that shows the viewer what they're supposed to view first and how their eyes are meant to make their way around the design. You can see in this example a poor use of negative space. There's not a lot of extra space, so all of the words and text feel really jumbled, and as a viewer, you might not really know where to start reading first. As opposed to this example where the text has been altered a little bit to add in some of that negative open space, letting it breathe, giving some room, creating order within the design, and spacing things out appropriately. You can see how much more visually appealing this example is compared to the first. Now, there are a lot of different types of graphic design tools that you can use to create your designs. One of my very favorite is Kittl, and Kittl recently announced a whole new brand refresh along with several really new exciting features. Though I do feel like Kittl is really user-friendly and pretty easy to learn, they're not only a platform just for beginners anymore, but they've actually developed into more of a cutting-edge platform for professional designers as well. Along with the recent announcement of the new features, they've totally rehauled their user interface to make it more streamlined, and they've introduced some amazing new capabilities like real-time collaboration that allows you to collaborate with other designers or people who are working with you on the same project so that you can all be making changes to the project in real time together. They've rolled out full brand kits so you can have all of your brand assets, color palette, and fonts in one place and easily accessible as you're designing. They've rolled out a shape builder, which basically allows you to build your own shapes within your project. You can even combine two shapes to make one new shape. So lots of fun features there, but there's one that I want to dive into that specifically has to do with what we've been talking about with alignment, and these are their new layout tools. So one new feature they have introduced for layouts is the ability to show a ruler and guide, which you can access when you're looking at your artboard by coming to the left side, clicking menu and going to where it says view, and then you should see ruler and guides, which you can toggle on, or you can click Shift and R to turn on. And when you do that, you'll see your ruler and guides appearing here at the top and down the left side. So this is super helpful when you're working on getting everything aligned just right. If I wanted to add a guide coming across from the left to the right, I would come up to the top and my cursor changes from my little mouse pointer to this one, which allows me to drag down my guide. You can see the little blue line coming down, and I can align this wherever I want. So let's say I want to line this up right under this September 2025 text. I can bring it right under and add my guide there. This way, if I'm wanting to line up some text on the right with what's here on the left, I can then drag my text around and it will automatically snap into place on that guide that I've put into place. Now, I might also want a guide for some text or elements coming from the left side. So again, I can come over to the left and click to drag my little blue line, which is my guide, over where I want it. So let's say I want it to be coming right up to where that September word starts. I can do that right there. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here so you can see it closer, but I've got my guides on the left of the September and underneath. So that way, if I had text, let's say up here on the top, and I wanted to line this up with my September text, I could have that guide there to click and drag this over and use that guide to line everything up the way it should be. Now in Kittle's new announcement, they also revealed that they have upgraded their AI tool, which you can come to from your artboard over here on the left, and you click on Kittle AI. If you come to Image Generator and click over to Advanced, you'll be able to change between DALL-E 3 to Flux Pro. So this Flux Pro is the new addition to Kittle's AI, and Flux gives some super powerful capabilities to this AI tool, including different image styles that you can see down here, everything from photography to cinematic, black and white. They've got several here, text rendering, and creating stock quality images. So what you would do is you would put your prompt here for the image you want it to create for you. So let's say I want a house in the desert with a cactus next to the front door. I'm going to come down here and choose which image style I want for this. Let's say cinematic, and click to generate. And here we've got our AI generated image. We can see our house here in the cinematic style with the cactus next to the front door. So we can always use this, but if we want to try again, we can maybe use the same prompt, but try a different image style. So let's say we would rather try 16mm this time, generate, and here's what it came up with in the new style. So again, we can just play around with this, but the addition of this new AI Flux model is going to give us a lot more capabilities and the option to switch back and forth here. Now, another fun capability that they announced is also in the Kittle AI section where it says image restyle. So if we come here, we can actually use an existing image that's in our project and reimagine it in a different style. So we can either describe the style we want it in, or we can click here to choose one of these community styles. So let's say I want to reimagine this rainbow. I'm going to select that and I'm going to describe it in the style I want. So I put in a watercolor style. Let's generate and see what it comes up with. So here is my watercolor rainbow that it generated based on my original in the new watercolor style, which is really cool. I can see, if I look closely, the different little watercolor texture in there along with the different colors. So let's go back and reimagine this in one of these community styles. This is kind of a cool one. So I'm going to click on this one and click generate. And here it's generated my newly imagined rainbow in this new style. So this is a really fun tool to play around with. I want to also try the image of this little puppy to see what it can do. I'm going to click one of these community styles. Let's go with something like this that's a little more cartoony and see what it comes up with for that. All right, so here is our little newly imagined puppy dog in the cartoon style, which I think it did an amazing job of. Really happy with how this turned out. So I definitely am loving this new image restyle feature. So fun to play around with and really fun. If I have an idea of something I want, but I might want it in just a slightly different style and I can't really find it anywhere else, this is a great way to create my own images and graphics in exactly the style that I want. So if you think Kittle might be a good fit for your business, you can try it out for free using the link that I have in the video description box below. And I want to thank Kittle so much for sponsoring this portion of today's video. All right, so we've talked about our first graphic design technique, using the correct layout with the right spacing and alignment. But now let's move on to technique number 2, which is just as important, and this is cohesion. For your graphic design to feel polished and pro level, you've got to have it feel cohesive cohesive all the way through. When someone looks at your design, everything should make sense from beginning to end, especially if there's multiple pages involved in the design or multiple posts or graphics. You want everything to make sense working together as one digital product and not to feel scattered with a lot of different colors and fonts and random graphics all the way through. We're shooting to feel very cohesive by selecting a few important things in the beginning and carrying that through from the first page to the last. So there's a couple different ways you can accomplish this type of cohesion. Number one is with color theory and by using the same color harmony all the way through. There are several different color harmonies within the world of graphic design, so you have lots of options here, but the key to make it feel cohesive is to choose one and to choose your colors that you're going to use for that specific project from the very beginning, so you're not using 10 or 20 different colors all the way through. You want to limit this and make it feel really cohesive by selecting and sticking with the same few colors throughout. So let's quickly go over what some of these main color harmonies are so you can start thinking in terms of color theory and what colors might be good for your project. The first color harmony we're going to talk about is called complementary. Complementary colors are two colors that are directly across from each other on the color wheel. These are high in contrast and highly visible because they are opposites and create a sense of tension. We can use them as is, or we can change the value or the lightness or darkness of the hue by making the color lighter or darker and choosing one to be more dominant. Some examples of brands that use complementary colors in their logos would be FedEx and IKEA. Each of these uses two colors that are directly across from each other and complete opposites on the color wheel. Next, we've got split complementary. This one includes 3 total colors, 1 primary and 2 secondary. So it's similar to the complementary harmony, but one of the colors is split and uses the colors on the right and left of the original complement. So in this example, in the complementary pairing, we had the blue and orange that was directly across, but for split complementary, we're using the blue and then the 2 colors that are on either side of that original orange. Next is triadic. This is where we use 3 colors equally spaced around the color wheel. It's common with this color harmony to use one as the dominant color and the others as support colors. Some examples of brands that use a triadic harmony are Burger King and Popsicle. You can see each has 3 triadic colors included in the logo, but you can also notice how Burger King has made a different shade of the yellow color. So instead of using the normal hue of yellow, they've made it darker and created a darker shade of yellow. And moving on to the next, which is tetradic. These are 4 equally spaced colors around the color wheel. Again, it's common for brands when using 4 different colors like this to choose one as the dominant color and let the others be more accent colors. An example of 2 different brands that use a tetradic color harmony are eBay and Google. Our next color combination is called analogous. These are 3 colors that are directly adjacent or next to each other on the color wheel. This type of color harmony provides an easy, relatable way to create color combinations. It creates a sense of cohesion, which is actually the opposite of what complementary colors do. Remember, complementary colors are directly across from each other and are opposites, creating that sense of tension and contrast. But when you use colors that are adjacent to each other or next to each other on the color wheel, they work together to create a sense of cohesion and are truly appealing to the eye. This type of color combination is often found in nature too, so you can create a color palette from a nature photo. I'll show you in just a little bit how to do this with an online tool. We can see here an example of a nature photo where we see analogous shades used together. So in this photo, we could potentially pick out the dark pink in the bottom left, the lighter pink in the middle, and the lighter purple in the top right. Some examples of brands that use an analogous harmony are MasterCard and BP. You can see, for example, in the MasterCard logo, the 3 colors of red, orange, and dark yellow are used together. Then we also have one called monochromatic. This is based on one single color. You can change the value of the color again by making it lighter or darker. And an example of a brand that uses this would be Starbucks. The Starbucks logo is known for that dark green color and would be considered a monochromatic color scheme. All right, in addition to making smart use of color throughout your project to help it feel cohesive, another thing that you can do is to stick with the same font style throughout as well. Now, this isn't to say that you only need to choose one specific font. You can use multiple fonts, but you want to make sure that they work together, and the few that you do choose, you use from beginning to end. When we're thinking of pairing 2 or 3 different fonts together, we want to make sure that we're creating enough contrast contrast and that they're different enough to be visually appealing, but they also need to work together and complement each other. The golden rule when pairing fonts together is that opposites attract. You don't want to choose two fonts together that are too similar. You want them to be contrasting enough to create some visual interest. So a few examples of what you could do here is you could use the same font and just vary the weight. So you could vary how bold or light the font's appearing. You could use the same font, but alter the tracking from one line to the next. Tracking is the space that's between each letter. So you could alter that to create a little bit of visual interest. Or you could use two totally different types of fonts together. One is the primary font and one is the secondary font. So for example, you could pair a serif font with a sans serif font. You could pair a sans serif with a script font. You could pair a script font with a decorative font. Lots of different options here as well, but making sure that they're contrasting enough and that you decide from the beginning which two or three you're going to use and carry it all the way through. And thirdly, to create a sense of cohesion, you need to have a consistent graphics style. When I say graphics, I'm referring to photographs you might be using in your project, images, icons, clip art. All of those are included within graphics, but you want to have a consistent style throughout. You don't want to have some retro graphics or icons on one page, and then the next one you're using really elegant and moody photos, and then the third page you're using really light and airy and modern photos. You want to pick one aesthetic or feel and go for that all the way through, whether it's your photos or icons or graphic elements or images that you're using. So a great way to start off with this is to think to yourself, what sort of style or aesthetic do I want to come across inside of this design? Do I want it to be modern, vibrant, gothic? There's so many different styles, and if you're not really sure, you can do a little bit of research online to find products that are already using different types of graphic design styles and pinpoint what you'd like to create that way. Regardless of what you choose, having a consistent graphic style along with your consistency in your font choices and your color scheme throughout your design is going to level it up and make it appear so much more polished and professional and cohesive from the beginning to the end. So friend, I hope those two strategies were helpful for you. Make sure to click the links in the description box below to try out Kittl for free and to grab your free digital product starter guide. Happy designing!